Feather Fortune Confession. Welcome back to Sound and Siren. I'm Xavier.
I'm Dylan. Welcome back to another installment of the Supercoach series. Boys, how are you this week? I know I'm very unhappy.
Yeah, my team didn't go well at all. I had a lot of outs. I talked about my biggest rank change last week, going up over 1,000 places. Well, I went down over 1,000 places this week, so not great.
Task?
Yeah, bit of a tough week, wasn't it? I think it was pretty similar across the board, but got to look forward now. There's one more week left until league finals, and that's my main focus. So got to readjust and see how we go.
Yep, and I actually went up about 300 places and I lost a couple of games in my leagues because of no Callum Mills or Toby Green. I needed 124 points between them in our league, and because they pulled out, I lost. So I was infuriated. But we move on. I scored 2,280 this week. I think I actually top scored us three,
Yeah.
surprisingly. So,
Yeah.
accolade for me.
We'll get straight into the heroes and villains. I think we'll start with you, Dylan.
Well, aside from Toby Green and Callum Mills, and Lockie Whitfield, obviously, there was many heroes. Sammy Walsh, 193. Tom Mitchell, 171. Jack Steele, who I was fortunate enough to captain. And Rowan Marshall, 127. It was my first week bringing him in. Now, I know the side effects come along with him after he's been quarantining, or he has to quarantine. And Clayton Oliver, 139. But as for villains, I'd say the Ruckman, Grundy Gorn, neither of them scoring over 95. And that's really about it. Oh, Haynes had 61. But apart from that, I had a pretty solid week across the board, considering I had 19 players.
And you, Dice?
So I got a score of 2,191. And it was a bit of a rough week. I only had 4 players score over 110. So that was Tuke Miller with 120 as my captain, Tom Mitchell, Aaron Hall, which is 110, and then Ron Marshall 127 with free handy as well. So they're really my only heroes. There wasn't many other impressive scores anywhere else. Villains this week are probably the Supercoach gods. Lockie Neal, we'll discuss it all later, but Kelly getting injured mid-game, Dustin Martin getting injured mid-game, Cripps not playing, Green being pulled out. It wasn't a good week for scoring for me.
Yeah, so I scored 2,183, so the lowest score of a lot of us. That's, I think, the first time in the last 10 weeks. I think I did my research. My villains have to be the people that missed games. So Paddy Cripps didn't play, Lockie Whitfield didn't play, Toby Green and Callum Mills as well. I didn't have all 4 of those, so that hurt. Also, what hurt me a little bit was a couple of weeks ago, I had the choice of going Callum Mills or Sam Walsh, and I discussed it a lot, and I decided I'd go Mills because he was a defender, and then my last upgrade would be for a midfielder, and that didn't work out because Callum Mills has missed the week while Sam Walsh scores 193, and then I have Patrick Dangerfield getting injured as well. So that upgrade, not Patrick Dangerfield, Dustin Martin. So that upgrade that I was talking about won't even end up happening, unfortunately. But so they were my villains. My heroes, Jack Steele, absolute hero. Every single week since I got him in, I think he's averaging like 140. Dangerfield was really good as well. I think I'm the only one of the 3 of us that have him. He scored 134. Clayton Oliver, as Dylan said, 139. But other than that, there wasn't. And Tom Mitchell as well was very, very good, 171. But other than that, there was not really anyone.
I forgot to mention one of my villains, Ben Cunnington. And it's not really a villain, but he's managing his family, which is probably fair enough. But unfortunately,
Managing his family.
not managing his family, but sticking back with him at home. So, wishes to him, but it hurt my Supercoach side.
Yeah, I believe his wife is ready to pop out a baby at any point in time. So it's a fair call there. All right, we'll head on to the trades. I don't think this will be a very action-packed segment, but I had to do a panic trade, not pretty much panic trade to cover Cripps being out. So I went Waterman to Sam Durham, who didn't score amazing, only 49, but he looked pretty impressive and he definitely passed the eye test. So I think he should be good from a job security point of view, and that could provide pretty good cover for both my midfield and defence. Sounds pretty handy. Either of you do trades this week?
Yeah, I did. I went Coleman, Jones, and Cunnington out. That was a bit of a panic trade. I know you boys didn't want me to do it, and I brought in Rowan Marshall, which has actually cost me, and Nick Haynes, who scored 60. So I think my season's just about done.
Yeah, I think ironically it could end up that Marshall doesn't play next week and Ben Cunnington does. So, yeah, that's unfortunate for you, I guess. I didn't do any trades last week. In hindsight, I should have traded out Dustin Martin, but it didn't work out.
I told you trading Dusty earlier in the year would have been beneficial.
You brought him back in. So
it still wasn't though, because now you've got to trade him out again. I think you've used like 4 trades on Dustin Martin now. So
yeah, pretty much. But all right, we move on to the buy sell holds, and I'll go with Cam Guthrie first. He's at an all-time low, 483.7k.
He's a buy for me. I think that's a really good price, and if you've got about 500k for your last upgrade, I think him and Fife are probably your 2 best options.
Yeah, he's a good option. He's nice and cheap. They got a pretty easy run home, I believe. My only concern is Dangerfield being in the side, but if you can move past that, I think you'll still be scoring solid 100 to 115, 120 most weeks. So he's a pretty good option at that price.
Yeah, I think his last 2 weeks, which have both been with Dangerfield, he scored 111 and 108. So for someone at his price, that's really good. We know he got injured and scored a 40, I think. I think that was his injured game.
Yeah.
But even with that, his average is still at 110. So I think he's a very good option.
Shea Bolton off the back of 107, I believe, and he's 420.8 thousand. And Dusty is out of the side now, as we know, for the season. So he'll play a very prominent role for that Tigers side. And they need to win as well.
Yeah, I think he's a really good option. I think we're going to talk about replacements for Dusty in a minute. But at the moment, it's looking like he's going to be mine.
Yeah, he's a good option. He should be getting more midfield time considering the injuries they've got at the moment. He looked good on the weekend, so I don't see much of an issue, especially that 420k price. That's pretty good.
A couple of bubble boys now. Sam Durham first up.
I think he's a buy. I think he's cheap.
He's 102k. So he's
that's perfect, and he's going to play as well. So perfect option.
Yeah, obviously I've got him. He passed the eye test, so he should have pretty decent job security. So I would be, if you need that 102 downgrade, he's a good option and provides flexibility with your defensive mid positions.
And if not Durham, then Connor West?
Yeah, he scored better on the weekend. Probably due for a bigger price rise, but he doesn't have the best job security in that West Coast side, really. I wouldn't be surprised to see him not get too many games, similar to how the Edwards boys went. So he's a decent option, but I think I'd take Durham purely for both the flexibility and the job security.
Yeah, I think, I agree with Darcy. You don't really need, unless you have a lot of trades at this time of year, which most people, especially the active players, won't, you're not going to need any cash generation, because I know for someone like me, I've got 2 trades left. So I don't have any room to downgrade to someone and then trade him back out to upgrade him. So it's the same case for people with 1 trade. So it is what it is, I guess.
That's probably the extent of the buy, sell, hold for now, but there's a couple of obvious ones. Trade Dusty, move on from Tom Highmore, hold Josh Kelly, who'll play this week. Trade James Jordan, probably time to move on for him. He lost 20k on the weekend. And then hold Rowan Marshall as well. And then Wakeman, Madden, obviously time for those guys to go as well. But that's all for this week. I'll save some other picks in the forward line for our debate over whether we go for someone else instead of Shea Bolton.
There we go. Perfect lead in. You're getting pretty good at those transitions. I'll run through the big outs for this week. So we can absolutely confirm Ron Marshall, Toby Green, and Cal Mills will all miss this week. They will have to be isolated due to the exposure to the Tier 1 site with COVID. So we're definitely missing them. Dustin Munn's out for the season. Dunkley also to miss with exposure site. And then Tom Highmore, a broken hand. That one could be pretty frustrating at this time. But yeah, then there's the Josh Kelly and the Lockie Neal potentials. They're both potentially out. Lockie Neal with a shoulder, Josh Kelly with an ankle. I think Kelly should play. He got scans. There was no structural damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon he should play, considering they need to be winning at the moment for finals. And then we're also looking at Lockie Neal potentially 2 weeks, but hopefully none. So what are your opinions on the Dusty trade? Who are you going to?
Well, just before we do that, I think my heroes next week might be Nathan Murphy and Tom Fullerton. I'll have to play them. I have all those players you mentioned, Das, but a smoky Tom Hawkins.
I think if you're playing for league, that would be a no-go because of how inconsistent we know key position players can be. But he's going to kick goals and he's going to have some really, really big scores. So if you're playing for rank, then maybe it's not the worst option. But I've ranked my top 7 forwards that I would go to if you have the money. So first is Patrick Vanderfield. He's had some massive scores since he's come back in, 134 and then a score of over 180 as well. Dane Zorko is my second. I think he's the most expensive forward at the moment. Jack Zeeble, everyone's going to have him, but if you don't, he's a great option as well. I think Marshall is a very good option as well. He's had 2 really good scores, or 2 good scores now, a 90 and then I think 120 something on the weekend. He looked really good and he's looking fit as well, although we know he's not going to play. So if he can come back, same goes for Josh Dunkley as well. Both of them will be there. Aaron Hall has been really good most of the year after he came back from his from being dropped and his substitutions. Bailey Dale, I think, could be a really good option. It looks like he's taken most of the kick-ins. And then the last one, a bit cheaper, is Shea Bolton.
Yep. Now, the rationale behind Tom Hawkins was he has Richmond this week, so a weaker defence with all those injuries sustained. And then North next week, who he has the potential to kick 6 or 7 on. Sorry, Das. But after that, he has GWS, St Kilda, Melbourne, and then so the finals will be, or the grand final should be round 22?
23.
23, okay. So it's not the hardest run home for the Cats, just apart from Melbourne, which is the final round. But he can definitely put bags against them.
Yeah, so with my options, the obvious ones, I think Dangerfield is the best possible move if you can afford it. But I genuinely don't mind a move to Marshall, even though he's to miss this week. It's only 1 week really, and it's not finals yet, so it's not. Yeah. We're not go home. But for those tight on money, I do like Bolton, and then I don't mind Steel Sidebottom as an option either. He's only around 399k. He's going to score decently, 90s, maybe 100s. He's not going to be amazing. But for an absolute, when you're really struggling on cash, I think he could be the option you might have to go to there. I know I considered him myself for this week, but yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention Sidebottom in my list as well. He's the other one as well as Bolton that I'm considering. He's really cheap, so if you do have more than one trade, you might be able to use that money that you save going from Dusty to him somewhere else. So I'm considering that one, and I think he does have some serious upside. We've seen in past years him average well over 100, so he could be a really good option too.
Just the only concern for me is a 56 3-round average. Now I know you boys don't.
Who? Sidebottom.
Sidebottom, yep. So he scored 33, 57, 78.
Yeah, well, he might be going a bit lower in price then, which is good because I was hoping not to have to do that trade this week. But
in 2 of the 3 weeks before that as well, he had scores of 115 and 117. So he definitely does have the upside there. So I think he could be a good option still.
Yeah, he's lost a total of 102,000 in the last 3 weeks, Das, which is definitely handy for you.
And then if it comes out that Lockie Neal is to miss 12 more weeks, would you consider trading considering the finals?
Well, I think if he misses more than 2, then I definitely would trade him. If it's 2, then I think it depends on how many trades you do have left and if you can afford to trade him out.
So just think in my case, if I was 7th in the finals, he'd miss this week and then the first week of finals, which is a must win, and it means I'd have to field Durham or something like that.
How many trades do you have left?
I don't think I'll be trading Lockie Neal regardless, but I've got 2 trades left, and I think I need to use it more on Dusty and Bianco.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it then, because Dusty is obviously the first priority. He's not going to play for the rest of the season, so he's not only going to hurt the next 3 weeks, but after that as well, if you do get to the grand final, so on. And then Bianco, he's going to have a little bit of money. And if you do that trade that we were talking about, Dusty down to a side bottom, you might be able to get to a pretty quality player from Bianco.
Yep.
And with Highmore, with the broken hand, I think he could miss probably the rest of the home and away season at least. With really cheap options there's not much. He's only 331k. But there's a couple smokies that I don't mind. Probably laugh at me for this one, but Luke McDonald from North Melbourne isn't actually a bad option. I think he averaged around the 100 mark last year, might have been a bit over. And then he's had 2 decent scores, and he's only 420k at the moment. So I don't mind that as an option. I was considering McDonald and side bottom as my 2 trade-ins. Or obviously you could go down to Durham. Is there anyone else you guys have in mind that could be a Highmore upgrade or downgrade?
I actually don't mind Luke McDonald for you because he scored 100 on the weekend, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the ball will be played. That's why Zeeble and Hall score so well, because the ball is played in their half a little more than the forward half. So you never know with those 3. I mean, I had Cunnington, Hall, and Zeeble on my team at once, so I don't mind 3 North players at all. But yeah.
What was the maximum price we had, sorry, to spend?
Any price really, but considering that Highmore's 330k and not many people have much to spare.
I think Jack Bowes is a really good option. He's 383k, so he's a little bit more, or 87. So he's a little more expensive, but if you can get to him, I think he's a pretty good option. But Luke McDonald, I don't think is horrible. I don't think he'll score as well as he did last year, which was, albeit very, very good, due to having Hall and Zeeble playing that really similar role and taking those kick-ins that McDonald will need to score really well. But at that reduced price, you're not going to get anyone that's going to average 110 points. So he's definitely not the worst.
Yeah, this week will be. Oh, sorry, you go.
Yeah, I think there's not many other players in that domain. You can go Dan Houston, 398k. He's got an 86 season average. He's got a terrible 3-round average of 55, but he usually goes all right. He's not a terrible option. And if you're feeling brave, you could go for Callum Wilkie or potentially Isaac Quainer, who are both Quainer 385k, Callum Wilkie 422k, both playing pretty decently. Quainer cracked a ton last week, so if you're feeling brave.
The one other option I would suggest, he hasn't played since round 13. He's been injured and broke his jaw. But if he does come back, I think he could be a really good option, is Hunter Clark. He's 330k. He's one of my favourite players in the league. He averaged close to 90, I think, last year. I think he should be very good if he does come back. Dan
Houston sounds very similar to side bottom. So if you're going side bottom, Houston. But the other one I don't mind. You need a midfielder as well, Das, don't you?
Yeah.
Davies
mid forward, I can swap Zorko into the midfield.
Luke Davies-Uniacke, North boys, 444. I think he's been scoring pretty decently.
I do like LDU, and he looks like he's going to be an absolute star, but I don't know if he's going to have the consistent scoring that I need from him.
Yeah, no. Fair enough.
And but one more just quickly. Alex Witherden, is he an option?
Uh,
If
as
he
much
is
as
to
I
play?
love Alex Witherden, I don't think I would go with him. We know his job security isn't perfect. He's only played 6 games this year. If he does play, he's going to score well. We know that. He's already had, of those 6 games, he's had 2 above 100, and they were well above 100 as well. So if he plays, he's a very, very, very good option. But the reality is he's probably not going to.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a very strenuous week for me in terms of getting my side over the line. I'm about 3 players short. I'll have Fullerton and Murphy on the ground, and it'll all be on my vice captain and captain selection. So, Zabe, who are you going to choose?
Definitely are getting better at these transitions, Dylan. That was another quality one. My captain, I'm thinking, well, my vice captain or captain is definitely going to go on Jack Steele. He's repaid me every week since I've traded him in. But I'm not sure how I'm going to work it really. So I'm thinking maybe a Dangerfield captaincy, but it's definitely risky. But I've got to find a way to put one of them on Jack Steele for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Hard to go past Jack Steele. It hasn't let me down the last 3 or 4 weeks as vice or captain. And then probably into Walshy. Sam Walsh against North. He's in.
Yeah, definitely. If you do have Walsh, he's a very good option as well. He's in incredible form. So
You have to go Walsh as your vice first, and
Okay,
then
Walsh to
Steele captain,
Walsh
who only
into Steele
plays.
is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steele only plays 2 hours and 50 minutes later, so you have to be pretty quick with that one.
Yeah, you might have to make the decision at like 3/4 time if Walsh is playing.
Yeah.
There should be like a 10-minute gap. It normally finishes about 4:20-ish, so I'll have time. So Walsh into Steele for me.
Yeah. For me, I'll be looking at Tuke Miller as my vice and probably Tom Mitchell as my captaincy. I think this week is just a throwaway week for me. I do have my 2 trades left, but I don't think I'll actually use them, and I'll probably just field about 18 players. I don't think it's really worth me trying to scrap a win this week, because even if I did use both my trades, I can't avoid Marshall, Green, possible Cripps, Kelly, or Neil out. I can't really avoid that even with my trades. So I think I'm just going to hold them for an extra week, take the loss, and then I can reassess next week on whether I need to make any different trades to what I've got planned, even though I do have Dusty.
I think Cripps will play this week as well. The report was that he's feeling well. He trained and he's expected to play, but he might be laid out. We're not totally sure, but he should play. We know he plays through a lot of stuff, that guy. So Carlton versus North, he probably wants to get up, see if he can experience a back-to-back win.
Yeah, my season definitely nearing the end, and we're nearing the end of this episode. So make sure to follow at sts.podcast, at AFL Supercoach, and at Footy Beanies. Make sure to order yours right now. Link will be in the description. Boys, thanks for joining once again. Good luck to you all, and we will see you next time.
Tune into the live Q&A tomorrow night, Thursday night.
That too.
On any of the accounts we have, the STS podcast, Footy Beanies, or AFL Supercoach. I think we're going to have a special guest. And then also, just quickly, there's only 20 North Beanies left if you want one. So make sure to get in on it now.
Thanks for that, Das. And on that note, hope you enjoy it. We'll see you next time.